So we have to start with use of virtual in C++. So virtual base classes. What is the use of virtual keyword in a base class that we will be learning? And as you can see here, it is written dynamic polymorphism. Polymorphism means which can take more than one form is known as polymorphism. So here it is written as dynamic polymorphism. So we had learned the concept of, we just had an overview of polymorphism in which we learn about function overloading. Functions having the same name but different parameters. That is, one function is having different forms that we had discussed. So function overloading is an example of polymorphism. The polymorphism can be divided into two: compile time polymorphism and runtime polymorphism. The runtime polymorphism is known as dynamic polymorphism, in which there is a concept of virtual functions. So that's why here it is written dynamic polymorphism, okay, which is runtime polymorphism. So this we will do in detail. Here's a program given. This is the program. This is the same program as this. So what is there in this program? Let us see. It has got the two header files, and then there is a class named base, and this base class has its definition. This is having its own data members, and this base class is having, this is the definition of the base class, and this base class has data member A. Then there is another class derived one, which is inheriting the base class, as public, and here the virtual keyword is used. I'll tell you about this virtual keyword, what it means, but for the timing just ignore it. Just see that this base class has been inherited by derived class publicly. So whatever is public in the base class will be inherited as public in derived one class. And this derived one has its data member B, which is public. Then there is another class derived 2, which is inheriting all the properties of base class publicly. So whatever is public in base class will be inherited as public in derived 2. So derived 1 is having all the properties of this base class, and derived 2 is having all the properties of this. Derived 2 is having all the properties of the base class, and this derived 1 has all the properties of the base class. For the time being, we'll ignore this virtual keyword. Then there is the third derived class, derived 3, which is inheriting derived 1 and derived 2 publicly. So derived 3 is inheriting all the properties of derived 1 and derived 2. And here, as you can see, this is an example of hierarchical hybrid inheritance. Here, hybrid means mixture of all the inheritance, mixture of all the types of inheritance. So here, as you can see, here we have this derived one is inheriting the base class. So this is an example of single inheritance. And then as you can see, this derived 2 is also inheriting the base class. So we can say this is an example of hierarchical, and this is an example of hierarchical inheritance, because this one base class is having two childs, derived 1 and derived 2. This one base class is having two child, derived 1 and derived 2. This base class is having two childs, derived 1 and derived 2. Also, as you can see, this derived 3 is inheriting derived 1 and derived 2. So we can say that this derived 3 is having two parents, more than one parent. So multiple inheritance. So it's a mixture of single inheritance, multiple inheritance, hierarchical inheritance, and multi-level inheritance, which forms hybrid inheritance. So this is an example of hybrid inheritance. So this derived t is inheriting derived 1 and derived 2. So we can say that all the properties of derived 1 will be inherited in derived 3. So what are the properties of derived 1? This derived 1's own property. The properties of derived 1 and the properties of the base class, because this derived 1 has inherited all the properties of base class. So this also and this also will be inherited by derived 3. Also it is inheriting all the properties of derived 2. So what are the properties of derived 2? These are the properties of derived 2, and also derived 2 has all the properties of base class. So this is also been derived by derived 3. So what, in simple terms, what we can say that derived 3 is inheriting this, the properties of derived 1 and the properties of base, and also the derived 3 is inheriting the properties of derived 2 and the properties of base. So this properties of base will be derived twice, because derived 3 is inheriting derived 1. So the properties of derived 1 will be inherited by derived 3. So what are the properties of derived 1? This is the property of derived 1, and also the derived 1 have the properties of the base class. So if derived 3 is inheriting derived 1, then the properties of derived 1 and properties of the base class will be inherited. Also derived 3 is inheriting the properties of derived 2. What are the properties of derived 2? These are the properties of derived 2, and it also have the properties of the base class. So we can see that it will inherit this also and this also, but this will be inherited twice, because it's derived 1 also it is having this, and derived 2 is also having this properties of the base class. Derived 1 is also having the properties of base class, and derived 2 is also having the properties of base class. So derived 3 will inherit this twice. So in order to avoid inheriting the properties of base class twice by the derived 3 class, the virtual keyword is used. So where this virtual keyword will be used? When derived 1 will be inheriting the base class, then virtual keyword will be used. When derived 2 will be inheriting the base class, then virtual keyword will be used, because derived 3 is going to inherit derived 1 and derived 2. That's why the virtual keyword is used here. So let us see what is written in the theory. Virtual base classes. Think about the following situation. A class named base is declared. Of course, here we have declared a class named base. Then two classes are derived from that original. So the two classes are being derived from this base class, derived 1 and derived 2. Because this derived 1 is also deriving base class and derived 2 is also deriving base class. So the two classes are derived from that original derived 1 and derived 2. Next, yet another new class is declared, and there is another new class derived 3, yet another new class is declared, a derivative of both derived 1 and derived 2, which is derived 3. So derived 3 is deriving derived 1 and derived 2 both. Looking at this situation, if a variable from the original class base is called in association with derived 3, what will happen? If this derived class, if the object of derived 3 class is going to call the data member of the base class, what will happen? Because this derived 3 class will have two copies of this data member, data variable you can say. There are essentially two copies of base in derived 3. In derived 3, there are two copies of base class. the one inherited from derived 1 and the one inherited from derived 2. The one inherited from derived 1 and the one inherited from derived 2. If derived 3 try to reference a variable in base, an error will occur. To prevent an extra copy of base from being created during the declaration of derived 3, we use virtual base class. So to avoid the double copy of the properties of base class in derived 3, virtual keyword is used. The following class declaration clarify the situation described above. So this example is showing us the use of virtual keyword. Notice the use of keyword virtual in the declaration of the derived class. So we have used the virtual keyword. So here's the explanation of this program. There is only one difference between a virtual class and a normal class. If a virtual base class is inherited more than once by the same class, only one copy of it will be present. So in order to inherit only one copy of the base class in derived 3, virtual keyword is used. If a normal class is inherited more than once by the same class, multiple copies of it will be present in the derived class. Thus, virtual base class prevents inheriting multiple copies of the same base class members. And now we will start with inheritance conflicts. So, it has got member conflicts. Name conflicts can occur. Same member name from more than one base class. This conflict we saw here in this example. Same member name. So we learned that to avoid this conflict, we use the scope resolution operator. Under the topic ambiguity in multiple inheritance, we learned. So name conflicts can occur. Same member name from more than one base class. Derived class can overshadow base class member's name. It means that when I talk about this program again, here base class is having the member function show. Base 2 is also having the member function show. If derived class would also have been having the same function show, I will open this program in Notepad. This is the same program as this. So in this program, there is class base 1 which is having the member function show. And this is the definition of the function show. Base 1 is closed. Then base 2 function is having the member function show. This is the definition of the function show. And in case if derived also is having the member function show. So all the three classes, base 1, base 2 and base 3, base 1, base 2 and derived is having the function show. So inside the main function, there is clear screen and we have created an object of derived class, and the object of derived class obj is calling the show function. So let us execute this program. I'll copy this in the Turbo C bin folder of the Turbo C. Here I will use /n so that the next line which will print should be in a new line. So here when we talk about this program, not this, here I will use /n so that the next line which will be printed after this should be in a new line. So here in the execution will start from the main function. There is CLR SCR for clear screen, and we have created an object of derived class obj, and this obj is calling the show function. So since this derived class is inheriting base 1 and base 2 as public, so whatever is public in base 1 will be inherited by derived, and whatever is public in base 2 will be inherited as public in derived. So the members of base 1 and the members of base 2 are the members of derived. So all the show function of base 1, the show function of base 2 are the members of derived. Also this derived has its own show function. So which one should it be calling? So when I am using this statement obj.show, that is going to call the show function of the derived class, not the show function of the base 1 and base 2. It's going to call the show function of the derived class. So what is the output of this program? Here it will call the show function of the derived class. What is there in the show function of derived class? The show function is printing class derived. And the next line will be in a new line. And next, what is there? There is a statement obj.base2 colon show. This means that this statement is calling the show function of base 2. So what is the show function of base 2? This is the show function of base 2. What is there in the show function of base 2? It's going to print this statement. And there is /n means that next line should be in a new line. So this is the end of the show function of base 2. It will be back here, then get ch, end of the program. So this is the expected output, and let's see what we are getting here. When I will compile it, here should be double inverted commas. So this is what we have got. So what I wanted to tell you is when I used obj.show, so it chose to call the show function of derived, though it had show function of base 1 and show function of base 2, but it chose to call the show function of derived. So that is what it means here when we were talking about this. Derived class can overshadow base class member's name. So derived class is overshadowing the base class members show. Here the show function of derived is called when I am using this statement. It is choosing the show function of derived. It is not calling the show function of base 1 and base 2. So it is overshadowing the base class members. Use scope resolution operator to resolve conflicts. So here we have used the scope resolution operator to avoid the conflicts. Then multiple inheritance conflicts. Let's see what is there in multiple inheritance conflict. Derived class may combine more than one copy of a member. So just now the conflict we discussed here, that this derived class is inheriting, this derived class derived 3 is inheriting the double copy of base class. in this example, this derived 3 was calling the was inheriting the members of base class twice. So this is what is the conflict which we face in multiple inheritance. We can say derived class may combine more than one copy of a member. Base class may combine more than one copy of a member. So this conflict we will be learning in this topic, virtual functions. So when to use virtual members? Here we had used virtual base class. So virtual members and virtual base class is different. Virtual members and virtual base class is different. Here we had declared while inheriting the base class, we used virtual keyword. But here the virtual members are different. How it is different? We will do it. So here's a program. Here we are learning virtual function. So let's see. Here it has got two header files. There's a base class. And this base class is having the display function. This is the definition of display function of the base class, and this base class is closed. There is derived one class which is inheriting the base class as public, and this derived class is also having the display function, and this is the definition of the display function of the derived one, and also this derived one is inheriting the base class. So it is inheriting the properties of base class as public. So this derived one is also having the display function of the base class. Then there is derived 2 class which is again inheriting the base class. So this derived class is having the display function, and this is the body of the display function, and also this derived class is having this derived 2 is having the display function of the base class because it is inheriting the base class as public. This derived 2 class is closed here. Then there is a main function. Execution of the program always starts from the main function. In the main function, what is there? Clear screen. After that, this statement is creating the object of derived one. The object of derived one is created, and the name of the object is obj1. This statement is creating the object of derived 2. The name of the object is obj2. Then here the pointer of the base class is used. I hope you remember we had learned pointer to the object members of a class. Pointers to object members we had learned. So here the same concept is here also. We are creating the pointer of a base class. Here we are creating a pointer of a base class. This pointer is pointing to obj1. ptr is equal to and obj1. I hope you remember the syntax of the pointer which I have explained. So this pointer is pointing to obj1. Pointer is a variable which points to the address of another variable. So this pointer is pointing to the address of obj1. And this pointer is calling the display function. So this pointer should call the display function of derived 1. It should call the display function of derived 1. It should call the display function of derived 1. But this is not the case. It is going to call the display function of the base class. And then there is a next statement, ptr is equal to and obj2. So now this pointer is pointing to obj2, the object of derive2. So it should call the display function of derive2 by using this statement. By using this statement, it should call the display function of derived2. But instead, it is going to call the display function of the base class. A pointer calls the member function using the arrow operator. Okay, I hope you remember. So I will then get ch, and this is the end of the program. Let us run this program in Turbo C first. Here I should use /n. Here also I should use /n. Here also I should use /n. So the expected output of this program is CLR SCR is going to clear screen the output screen, and then we have created the object of derive1, then we have created the object of derive2, and we have created the pointer of class base. So using this pointer is pointing to the derived1 object. This pointer is pointing to the address of obj1, which is an object of derive1. Derive1 is inheriting the base class, okay, and even derive2 is inheriting the base class. So using this pointer we are calling the display function. So it should call the display function, this should call the display function of derive1, but instead it is calling the display function of the base class. So what is there in the display function of the base class? It is going to print in base. And /n means that the next line should be printed in a new line. Then after this the same pointer is pointing to the obj2. This pointer is pointing to the address of obj2, which is an object of derived2. And then the next statement is calling the display function. This pointer is calling the display function. So it should call the display function of derived2, but instead it is calling the display function of base class. What is there in the display function of the base class? It is going to print in base. And /n means that next line should be in a new line, and this display function is closed here, so it will be back here. After that there is a get ch, and then the end of the program. So this is the expected output of this program. So let us check. I have not used /n here, that's why. Here also we need /n. So this is what the output we are getting. But what I want is, when this pointer is pointing to obj1, it should call the display function of derived1. and when this PTR is pointing to obj2, so it should call the display. This should call the display function of derived 2. So in order to do that, we use virtual function. So in order to do that, we use virtual functions. So let us see what is written in the theory. Keyword virtual only appears in the base class. Okay, so we will discuss this program. The solution to use virtual function. So the solution is to use virtual function. How we can do that? In the same program, we have used virtual keyword here. This is the same program, only we have used virtual keyword before the display function of the base class. Okay. And now when we will execute this program, what is going to happen? Same thing is there, that the execution of the program will start from the main function. There is clear screen, and then we have created an object of derived 1, then we have created an object of derived 2, then we have created a pointer of base class, and this pointer is pointing to the object of derived 1, and this pointer is calling the display function. So this time it is going to call the display function of derived 1, not the display function of the base class, because this virtual function is going to solve this problem for me. So because of this virtual keyword, I am able to call the display function of derived 1. So the output of this program will be this pointer is pointing to the address of obj1, and this pointer is calling the display function of derived 1. What is there in the display function of derived 1? This is the display function of derived 1. Here I want to use /n. So this display function will print in derived 1, and there is /n, that means next line should be in a new line. This is end of the display function here. It will be back here. Then this pointer is pointing to the address of object obj2. This is an object of derived 2. So this pointer is trying to call the display function. So the display function which will be called will be of derived 2. So the display function of derived 2 will be called. What is there in the display function of the derived? Here I want to use /n. The display function of derived 2 is going to print in derived 2. Then there is /n, that means the next line which is going to print will be in a new line. This is end of this display function. So it will be back here, get ch, end of the program. So this is what we will get as an output when we will use the virtual keyword before the display function of the base class. So let us run this program in Turbo C. Let us compile it. and run it. So this is what is the output we are getting. So let us see what's written in the theory here. Keyword virtual only appears in the base class. So here we can see the keyword virtual appeared only in the base class. Nowhere else we saw the keyword virtual. All classes that derive this class will have the corresponding method automatically declared virtual by the system. So what it is saying is when derived one is inheriting here in this program, when this derived one is inheriting the base class, so the function which is used with the virtual keyword will be inherited as virtual in the derived one automatically. So that is what it means here. The structure of the virtual function in the base class and each of the derived classes is identical. Yeah, of course, because if derived one is inheriting the properties of base class, then it will inherit it as it is. So it is identical. The return type and the number and the types of the parameters must be identical for all since a single statement can be used to call any of them. Okay, so of course, exactly same it is saying the number of parameters, the name of the function, the type of the parameters, everything should be same here. It will be inherited as it is, identical. So the return type, the number, the types of the parameters must be identical for all since a single statement can be used to call any of them. If the keyword virtual is used, the system will use late binding. So this late binding concept we will continue in the next lecture. For today we will stop here.